When I started to write poetry, I was dyslexic when I was small, still a bit dyslexic now. And all my poetry came to me from people speaking to me. It came from my dad coming in from the garden, suddenly going into a poem. It came from my sister. I always remember being wrapped up in my sister. I think I was only about 4 or 5, and it was a real stormy night. I think it was the first storm I ever remembered. And she never read me poetry, she always told me poetry. So poetry was curled up into my sister with her breath on my cheek. The words were her breath touching me. She'd blow my curls away with the poem, and she'd say something like, "Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild." And the storm outside would go, and I thought, bloody hell, that poetry's powerful stuff. And I was always bitterly disappointed that, you know, the magic wasn't like that you could conjure up a storm. So, this is from my sister June, and it's called The Way the Story Goes. Always enchantments falling from your lips, Orpheus, Eurydice, made real, made from the nearness of your breath, a kiss. I cry unashamedly each time Orpheus looks back and Eurydice is lost to his hysterical heart. I ask for this story endlessly, each time promising I won't cry, and I cry. Scream no as if Orpheus can hear me, each time believing that death can be cheated and wailing why. Years later, the bus crash, the story death invented, turns me into Orpheus, you into Eurydice. I search endlessly for your kiss, the nearness of your breath, that smile, that story falling from your lips. Morning shatters the dream, the ghost of your voice smiling. Shh, shush, that's just the way the story goes. Thank you. Since I've begun reading this poem, I thought it was a very abstract, surreal way of describing somebody's ineptitude. And everybody's told me, come and read this poem, I know a person just like that. So, I should now call the poem A Person Just Like That. But I won't. I'll call it by its original title called The Uselessness of Maps. You were always the bit where the map creased and tore, leaving us unsure, looking through a hole at our own big toe. You were always the bit where the map was folded in 4 and had to be awkwardly unfolded just to see where you were. You were always the bit that was just off this map, ending in mid-air. See next map, the missing map. You were always the lost map. You were often the wrong map, the map there was no map of. This is called Seconds Before. I used to look after a gentleman and he used to just repeat this phrase endlessly. You can see why the poem is finished. It's called Seconds Before. Somewhere in 1970 or so, I remember your smile, seconds before, telling me you wanted to live as quietly as a star, seconds before. No, not a movie star, a star above a mountain, above a world star, seconds before, your hair falling across your eyes, your hair hiding your smile, seconds before the bomb goes off. I'll bring this bit of me to a conclusion by reading a poem called The Only Way of Looking at a Bird. I read at a festival in France, the St. Clementine first biannual bilingual festival, and wrote this for the organizer, Glyn Pope. My daughter Tilly used to look at the world intensely. She touched the world intensely, she played intensely, she taught intensely, she did everything. It became a very Tilly-ish way of looking at the world. So this is called The Only Way of Looking at a Bird. She looked at the bird with all of herself, as if by some alchemy of thought, she flew into its shape as it became the air, her mind opening its wings to the sky, the house now a little blue egg far below her, a voice curving into a beak that flung its beam into the song of self, scrawled across the sky, becoming sunset, so that becoming human again was a grief that could only be expressed in birdsong. Thank you. This is a delightful little ditty called Autopsy. Sorry, I forgot to get semi-naked for this. All right, Sue is gliding away from me as we speak. Not that naked, Sue.
Oh, go on.
Autopsy. You made the opening incision with almost clinical precision. Took the heart out, found it wanting. Took the top off the head, removed the mind. What exactly was it you expected to find? I looked at you with sad eyes that said, it wouldn't have hurt half as much if you'd only waited till I was dead. Little haiku. Haikus usually aren't performed, but hey, there you go. This is called Old Dog's New Tricks. It was my daughter's 3rd year on this earth, and she was celebrating with a lot of our peers, and they were going absolutely crazy bananas all together. And I thought, I'll let them out there, I'll let them just, and then I got too worried and thought, I've got to go in and stop them, whatever they're doing. And just as I was about to get up and go, what the? Everything went silent. And then the silence was scaring me. The noise was scaring me before, now the silence was scaring me. And it was just a little bit too long, and I thought, I've got to go in there and see what the silence is about. And just before that, they all just pushed back into the room like that, and they basically said this haiku to me. So it's called Old Dog, New Tricks. The dog's in the loo! We was teaching him to pee! And he just fell in. Thank you. Good night. You've been gorgeous.
My dear, it was just